Okay, it's time for a driving video. Here we go. So, I'm making this video and I want to talk about vaccines, the dreaded vaccines. Now, this thing goes on and on and on, that there's either some causal link or if not some triggering link of vaccines and autism. The big catalyst of this was Andrew Wakefield back in 1998, and he did a really small study which has turned out to be basically a load of hogwash. The study he did was a series of case studies which had turned out to be selection in the study was bad. He was found to be being paid by lawyers to make sure that the results ended up a particular way, and basically he made up this whole thing of autism is caused by vaccines. Now, it was quickly debunked. That's the thing. It was really quickly debunked. But the persistence remains in the general public's kind of idea that it's true. It doesn't seem to matter. I mean, we've got people like Donald Trump, who wants to be president of the USA, running around claiming it. We've got Robert F. Kennedy running around claiming it. We've got actors running around claiming it. It's just, yeah. Anyway, I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on the very real thing, that there is a thing where vaccines can cause injury. They can be dangerous. So what I want to talk about is that that's a real thing, but it's also a very rare real thing. A very rare real thing. It's really rare. Overall, vaccines are safe. Overall, that's the way it is. That's just the reality of the way it is. But outside of that, there are small numbers of people that are impacted by vaccines. They do have a negative reaction to them, and in some cases, an extremely negative reaction to them. And if that's the case, you know, absolutely, we must be careful. Absolutely, we must consider that. And so that's a real thing. But really, what's not a real thing is this whole thing that Big Pharma and the government are in cahoots. What's not a real thing is that there's some conspiracy out there by Big Pharma or Big Business or whatever you want to call it, to harm us. That's just not a thing. So, in terms of aggression and in terms of people getting upset when anything about that idea is brought up, well, that's a real thing, because many autistics, myself included, find it really hurtful. We find it really harmful when people come in and make claims about the damage that vaccines do, and intimate, even without saying it, that perhaps vaccines cause autism. When that stuff gets said, it hurts us and it harms us. It's damaging to our communities, and it perpetuates untruth, and even more so, it perpetuates a narrative of around autism that's negative. It perpetuates a narrative that says autism is bad. Autism is caused by something. It's not a natural thing. It's not a natural deviant, a natural, not deviance, diversion from the so-called normal or typical neurological state of being. It perpetuates that narrative that says you're less, you're wrong, you don't belong. Now, for me, I grew up in a world where I felt like I didn't belong. And it's only with the discovery and acceptance that I am in fact autistic that I found that I do belong. I just belong in a different way because I am of a different neurological type. And that's okay. I'm cool with that. In fact, I love that because these last couple of years, really, for the first time ever, I've actually felt truly human. Instead of like some kind of alien walking through a haze, if that makes any sense. So when the narrative that I'm less, when the narrative that I'm wrong, and when the narrative that I'm a disease and a disorder is perpetuated, it hurts. And it's that hurt is why we get aggressive. I know we probably shouldn't get aggressive, but it's an emotional response from us. Yes, we often feel very emotional about it. Very, very emotional about it. And yes, we have been damaged. Many of us have been damaged. But it's not by vaccines, or it's not by parasites or ropeworms or any other such rubbish. It's by the way in which we've been treated by society and sometimes even by our own families. It's the way we've been made out to be something less. It's the way we've been subjected to therapies that are designed to change us. It's all of these things. And so when we see stuff that even hints that vaccines or whatever cause us, well, we feel it as an attack on our very being. And so we respond. Yep. And probably many times we respond with too much passion. And we could definitely respond with better and more rational responses. I myself try to respond rationally, but I know that I fail at times. I try to at least respond rationally at a beginning point. But what I find is that when I'm told by those people that I'm deluded, or that I'm autistic so I don't know, or I'm obviously damaged, or etc., it just fires me up. So there's this thing, there's this thing where we respond like this, and like I said, maybe we shouldn't, but we do. And we do because we're in defense mode. And we're in defense mode for our very being. We're in defense mode for our neurology. We're in defense mode for the ideals of neurodiversity. There's no pretense in us that it's not hard living as an autistic in a predominantly non-autistic world. We don't pretend that that's not the case. We don't pretend that there are lots of differences that make it hard for us. But what we do say is that does not in any way make us less. That does not in any way make us less valuable human beings, just the way we are. We want and need to be respected and listened to for who we are, how we're wired, and for what we have to offer this world. Because we do have a lot to offer. We do have a lot to give. We can live through our difficulties. We can exist through our difficulties. That's the thing, we really can. We are not just burdens to be endured. We are people to be loved and celebrated and to exist. And that's about all I've got to say about that.